The Tu-160 White Swan was designed to make Russia untouchable. It stood as a $500 million icon of nuclear power, a symbol of global intimidation, until a single breach flipped the script. When Ukrainian hackers stole 4.4 gigabytes of Tupolev's inner workings, they exposed a weak spot nobody imagined. Today, Ukrainian drone swarms hunt bombers once thought invincible, and the myth of the unbreakable Russian air shield is unraveling. What really makes a superweapon obsolete, and how did the world's costliest bomber become the perfect target? Standing at the edge of the runway, the Tu-160, the White Swan, dwarfs everything around it. Its swept wings stretch more than half a football field when fully extended. 4 NK-32 engines, the most powerful ever mounted on a combat aircraft, push this machine past Mach 2. Each takeoff is a spectacle, thunder rolling across the tarmac, afterburners blazing, the bomber lifting 275 tons of steel and fuel into the sky. The Tu-160 is more than a bomber. It is Russia's ultimate symbol of military reach, built to deliver nuclear and conventional strikes anywhere on the planet. NATO calls it blackjack, but for the Kremlin, it is the crown jewel, an aircraft so rare and costly that each unit carries a price tag north of $500 million, more than most fighter squadrons. Every detail is engineered for intimidation. Variable sweep wings allow it to hug the ground at low altitude or sprint at supersonic speed above the clouds. Its internal bays can hold up to 45,000 kilograms of cruise missiles, including the KH-101, designed for precision strikes hundreds of miles away. Production lines in Kazan have struggled to keep pace, with only a handful of new airframes delivered since the Soviet era. Each Tu-160 is a flying fortress, maintained by teams of specialists, guarded around the clock, and showcased in red square flyovers to remind the world of Russia's strategic might. The message is clear: as long as the White Swan is airborne, Moscow's enemies are never out of reach. But even legends cast long shadows. Inside a nondescript office in KYIV, a team of Ukrainian military intelligence analysts stared at a trove of data freshly siphoned from Russia's most secretive aviation firm. The breach into Tupolev's internal network was silent, methodical, and devastating. Over 4.4 gigabytes of files appeared on secure HUR servers. Personnel rosters, engineering diagrams, maintenance schedules, and private emails between Kazan plant supervisors. Among the haul, one document stood out: a full calendar of scheduled overhauls for every operational Tupolev Tu-160, complete with tail numbers, names of assigned technicians, even the time windows when each aircraft would be exposed on the tarmac. The data revealed more than technical details. It exposed the rhythms of Russia's most guarded bomber fleet, when engines would be swapped, which crews rotated in and out, and which security teams were on shift during each maintenance cycle. For years, the White Swan had been paraded as untouchable, its image carefully curated for parades and propaganda. But here, laid bare in spreadsheets and shift logs, were the vulnerabilities hidden behind the spectacle. The HUR cyber team did not just grab files, they left a calling card. On Victory Day, Tupolev's own website flashed an image of an owl clutching a Russian aircraft, a silent signal that the myth of invincibility had been punctured. The breach lasted long enough for analysts to map every weak link in the bomber's support chain. What began as a symbol of power now looked like a target waiting for the right moment. Prestige and secrecy had become a liability, and every detail stolen would soon be weaponized. Before dawn on June 1st, 2025, Ukraine's security service launched Operation Spiderweb, a campaign that would turn Russian air doctrine on its head. 117 first-person view drones built in workshops across Ukraine lifted off in coordinated waves. Their targets were 5 of Russia's most protected air bases, each housing the bombers responsible for months of missile attacks on Ukrainian cities: Belaya, Diaghilevo, Ivanovo-Severny, Olenia, and Ukrainka. Names etched into the Russian Air Force's strategic backbone became hunting grounds for a new kind of warfare. The SBU command cell in Kyiv watched the grid flicker with live drone telemetry. Each strike was mapped, and each base was assigned its own swarm. The drones, guided by preloaded coordinates and real-time adjustments from operators, slipped past radar fences and jamming zones. Russian air defenses, designed to counter high-speed jets and cruise missiles, now faced a threat they had not prepared for. Dozens of small, low-flying drones, each carrying a shaped charge or incendiary payload. By sunrise, Ukraine claimed dozens of aircraft damaged or destroyed, over 40 according to SBU briefings. Independent analysts verified at least a handful of bombers hit, and social media videos showed fireballs erupting from parked Tu-95s and Tu-22 M3s. The true toll remained contested, but one fact was clear: no Russian base was beyond reach. The myth of sanctuary had been shattered. In a single morning, the world saw how a swarm of $10,000 drones could threaten billions of dollars in hardware, rewriting the rules of air power. At the edge of Russia's most fortified airfields, the night air thickens with river fog and static charge. Ukrainian first-person view drones, each barely larger than a shoebox, skim the treetops and power lines, hugging the ground to stay hidden from radar. Their plastic shells and low heat signatures blend into the clutter of birds and debris, slipping beneath the gaze of long-range S-400 and Panzer air defense batteries. Operators rely on topographical data and real-time feeds, steering the swarm through radar-blind arcs, those low-altitude corridors where Russian sensors cannot distinguish between a drone and a stray gull. As the first wave approaches, decoy drones scatter in erratic patterns, mimicking a mass assault. Russian operators, already stretched thin, are forced to prioritize targets. Each interceptor missile fired costs the Russian state over $1 million, while the drones themselves are assembled for a fraction of that, sometimes less than the price of a used car. The air defense network strains under the volume, launching expensive munitions at cheap decoys, while the true strike group advances undetected just meters above the grass. Inside the command bunkers, confusion mounts. Radar screens flicker with ghost returns. Operators scramble to recalibrate systems, but the mathematics are unforgiving. A handful of launchers cannot keep pace with dozens of simultaneous threats. Every interceptor spent on a decoy is one less to stop a real attack. The illusion of impenetrability collapses as the drones breach the final perimeter, clearing a path to the bombers parked in the open. The defenders, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, are left watching the swarm slip through the cracks. A small team in black fatigues crept along the airfield's perimeter, moving under the cover of static-laden fog. Their mission was simple in theory: breach the security cordon, reach the exposed bomber, and plant charges where they would do the most damage. The FSB had warned of sabotage after a bounty of $3 million was rumored for any pilot willing to defect with a strategic aircraft. Echoes of the 2023 helicopter defection hung in the air, but as motion sensors tripped and klaxons blared, the human gamble evaporated. The saboteurs melted into the darkness, leaving behind nothing but footprints and a silent radio handoff. Within seconds, the operation shifted. Algorithms took over where nerves had failed. Dozens of drones, already pre-positioned and learning from each failed human approach, recalibrated their flight paths and locked onto new priorities. The age of the lone infiltrator had ended. Now the swarm advanced without hesitation. The aftermath of the strike left the airbase silent except for the hiss of burning fuel. Maintenance crews trained to handle routine overhauls now faced a catastrophe they had never rehearsed. One of the NK-32 engines, the centerpiece of Russian aviation engineering, was torn open by a shaped charge. Turbine blades twisted and fused, intake cowling peeled back, and internal wiring vaporized. The bomber was grounded indefinitely. Russia's entire supply of spare NK-32s was already stretched thin. With only a handful produced each year, replacing a single engine could take 12 months or more. The damage did not end there. Crates of Kh-101 cruise missiles stored for rapid loading were caught in the blast, igniting warheads and scattering fragments across the apron. High-level planners scrambled to reroute surviving bombers, doubling sortie distances and thinning out strike waves. What began as a single drone hit now forced a rewrite of winter campaign plans, exposing the limits of Russia's long-range power. Strategic bombers once defined military might. Now low-cost drones expose billion-dollar vulnerabilities in real time. As doctrine lags behind technology, the next breakthrough will not come from a factory, but from the code, the clouds, and the minds willing to rewrite the rules. War's front line just moved.